This talk is the maintaining yourself over the course of a career. Strength and conditioning is got a tremendous burnout rate, as many professions do. So, while I'm speaking in this specifically for those who are involved in strength and conditioning, realize that it goes much, much further than that, and much broader strokes and wide sweeping with this application. So, if we look at it, with a typical strength and conditioning coach, we tend to wear the numbers of hours per week on our sleeve as a badge of honor. We pride ourselves on being the first one in and the last one out. I know that for me, this led to many weeks of working. My short work weeks would be 60 hours. And in season, it would be upwards of 12 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, 80 to 100 hours was nothing that might be done. And I loved every minute of it. Whenever we wear those hours as a badge of honor, we tend to want to do more and more and more and want to be the one who works the longest because we care the most. Unfortunately, life has to be in balance. And what happens when you start working that many hours a week? Well, you don't have time for sleep or recreation. So then you're going to start taking caffeine like they're Tic Tacs. Maybe it's energy drinks. Maybe it is different powders or caffeine pills or caffeine gum or caffeine and nicotine at the same time. Or that stops working and then you start stacking pseudoephedrine on top of it. Whatever it happens to be. It's tons of stimulants. Intensity is often the name of the game. The more intense that you are with your training, with the coaching of your athletes, not letting anything get by, not budging, being explosive as a disciplinarian to try and enable fear. That's what happens all too often. And then to be an example for the athletes, so trying to be as strong as possible, lifting as heavy as possible, as often as possible, so that the athletes will see you hoisting greater weights than they can, so then they've got something to look up to or something, which really doesn't happen that way. The athletes might be like, hey, that's pretty cool, but that might gain you some respect from some athletes, but I don't think that's necessarily the best way to do things because of the toll that it can take on your health. Typically, we see short careers in strength and conditioning, 3 to 5 years. People go through a graduate assistantship, an internship, typically first, then the graduate assistantship, and then 2 to 3 years in the field, and they're usually done. For those who stay around, divorce is common. Coaches typically are on their second or third wife, and some people say it's because this person isn't a coach's wife that they married, so they just couldn't handle the rigors, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't think that it's unreasonable for somebody to expect to see their spouse over the course of their marriage. And whenever they don't see their spouse, they don't have their needs met, they're going to get it somewhere else. Now, burnout is through the roof. Of course, we can see with the number of hours and the relationship struggles that there is going to be a huge amount of burnout because the body can only go so far and so long. The old song, the Hey Hey My by Neil Young, about Johnny Rotten. It's better to burn out than fade away. Well, I think that neither is going to be what is recommended for a professional career. There's a lot of physical and mental health issues that happen, and they happen as a result of overstress. If you look back to Hans Selye with the original general adaptation syndrome, you can, when they were dealing with the rats back in his original studies, the rats could be exposed to something that would be an extreme situation for a while. It seemed like they got used to it, and then whenever they just were continued exposure of it, they just one day up and died. because it was too much for them to handle. So by continuing these stressors for too long, it might be okay for a while, but then the body is going to start rebelling. We see coaches with feet, back, hip problems, mental health issues, suffering from depression, hormonal disorders, many things that are related to the lack of sleep and the high intensity for prolonged periods. They're chronic stress issues. Now, whenever you're involved in strength and conditioning, all you see is the end result. You see where the athlete is. You see the bull rings. You see, just what is right in front of you. You don't see the side roads. They people say that, hey, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I am against that because you have to go so fast that this is trying to ride on the Autobahn. And some vehicles, like a Porsche, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, were made for the Autobahn to go extremely fast speeds for extremely long periods. Most coaches don't own those types of vehicles. We are more like the Ford Fusion or a Honda Accord, where we do a fantastic job at 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour and under. But whenever we try and go with those super high velocities, the wheels tend to fall off. So we have to realize that we are dealing with the Autobahn. We're not dealing with the marathon. Some slow moving activity, prolonged speeds that we can maintain for 26.2 miles. We're not that. We're out on the Autobahn trying to go way too fast, and we don't have the ability to deal with it. Now, what are the breakdowns that happen for people? Well, of course, like we said, there's chronic illness. A lot of people have autoimmune disorders as a result of coaching for long term because their body just starts rebelling against it. Weight problems. Sometimes it's on the low end, sometimes it's on the high end of people needing to they either put on weight or they lose weight because because of the stress hormones. The hormonal issues. Testosterone will actually decrease as a result of overstress and a lack of sleep. So a lot of times, many coaches that I'm familiar with, whose names will remain completely hidden, is that they've had to go on hormone replacement therapy to be able to maintain their job and their profession because their body isn't producing hormone because of fatigue. Blood pressure. A lot of coaches end up having problems with blood pressure, again, through the chronic illness, through the chronic stress, that it becomes elevated. And depression is the same thing. All of these are just warning signs of the greater issue of overwork and overstress. Are they fire or smoke? So looking at these things, are these the problem that we have to address? Weight. Oh, you just have to gain weight. Oh, you just have to lose weight. Oh, you just have to take these pills for your blood pressure. Oh, you just have to take these pills for your depression. Oh, you just have to take these shots because you're not producing the hormones. So is it the fire itself? Is this individual problem? Or is it smoke? It's a warning sign of other things.